and welcome to the CFB edition of the Super Show. I am your host, Walter Waddell, aka Dub Deuce 85, and joined as always by my co-host and partner in crime, Pete Cole. CFB is here, week 0. Super excited. We're grinding through WNBA, CFL, MLB, esports, but all that stuff aside, CFB, the real moneymaker. CBB's right on the horizon now. Pete, how excited are you for this?
To me, this is the best part of the year right now, end of August. Still got MLB right in its heyday still. They're good, 6 weeks left. NFL start, especially college football. Because didn't even realize you had some showdown Saturday also, so we got to get working on that. But yeah, I'm excited. It was kind of exciting day today too, doing some research on today's slate, getting back into it, getting into the groove. So it'll be a good season. It'll be a very good season. We had a good season last year. I think we had two losing weeks all season, all year, right?
Yeah, no, really good season. We had a few, where they were some min cashes or whatever, but mostly, no losing weeks except for one where there was a little bit of variance with the OK State running back, and then one where our quarterback got hurt. So can't do anything about that, but very good. Prize picks we crushed. Speaking of which, we're going to be covering prize picks in depth here tonight and every show, every week talking about CFB. We're going to be talking wagering stuff, maybe not so much tonight, but throughout the weeks, we're going to add that into our repertoire. So that you guys are multifaceted and can make money off of college football in multiple ways. So I'm really excited about this. The promotion going on right now is half off your first 2 months. So $25 a month for those 2 months. Very, very special deal. Gets you access to NBA, MLB, NFL, esports, all of our college stuff, all of our niche sports, top play articles, premium members only Discord shows that we occasionally do, which we probably will have one on Saturday night for the late slate that we're not going to be covering tonight, but we will be then. Cheat sheets, just everything that you could possibly need to be a winning player, we will provide for that one price. So definitely get on board with that now. You'll be all ready to go when college basketball rolls around. Your bankroll will be nice and padded, and you'll be ready to bully the lobby. So if you guys are watching live, we thank you. Hit that like button there underneath the screen. That helps us within the YouTube algo get our content seen. The more our stuff is seen, the more we can provide, the better information, and makes you guys, everybody's happy in the end. If you have a question, and while we're doing the show, on the right side of your screen in the live chat, comments, concerns, questions, pop those there, and throughout the night we will answer those for you as we go. We're going to do the game by game format, the tried and true way. It is a smaller slate, so it won't take too long to go through it. We'll kind of preview the teams, what we think. There's depth charts out for most of them. Then we'll talk about prize picks, give you guys maybe a 2 or 3 man core from each of us to see who we like. And then we're out. So be ready to make some money. We will be back Saturday morning. Inevitably, some breaking news will happen with Nebraska and Illinois. They're both, let me take that out. They're both, they're not releasing their depth chart. Illinois says they're not going to release it beforehand. Nebraska's being secretive about their running back situation. So there's going to be some stuff Saturday morning that drops that we'll have to react to. But yeah, let's just jump through here and get after it. We have our first slate of the year, talking Illinois versus Nebraska. There's a lot to like on this slate in general. Maybe not so much in the Illinois-Nebraska game, just because, like I said, Illinois is being secretive with their depth chart. So is Nebraska. Right now, it's Nebraska -7. With a 54 over under. We're looking at the Hawaii game, 68 over under, and the Uconn game, 62.5. So this is supposed to be the lower scoring game of the slate. Nebraska, Adrian Martinez, it's going to be his show. He doesn't have Luke McCaffrey's transferred out. So if he makes a mistake, he doesn't have to worry about him behind him. Martinez, if you guys only knew him from last year, you wouldn't think much. He does have over 5,600 career passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 20 picks. He's also rushed for just under 400 yards and 22 touchdowns on the ground in his career. So Amar can play. If he can get back to his 2018 version of himself, which was a very elite player, he could have a really nice season. I mentioned that running back, they're really kind of being secretive. They have quite a few options. Marquis Step out of, transferred from USC. He's in the mix for carries. Somebody here is going to emerge as a good option. Illinois has a new coaching staff, but still, they gave up 230 rushing yards a game last year. Even with the new staff, it might take some time to fix that. So I do think the running game for Nebraska here is in play. but not for our main lineups or anything. Step, as I mentioned, is the transfer out of USC. In 3 seasons with USC, he rushed for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. Very crowded backfield. You guys know from last year, USC's running back situation. If you'd play one of them like Carr, the other guys would go off and vice versa. So I think Step has a chance to actually be, fantasy relevant here. True freshman Gabe Irvin is very intriguing, reading up on him.
Yeah.
Former Sports Illustrated All-America candidate. He ran for over 1,000 yards in his senior year, led them to a high school championship 6A title at Buford High. So everybody says he's got electric stuff coming out of training camp and spring games. He can pass, he can catch, he can, run. There's lots of good stuff for Gabe Urban. So he is somebody that I'm looking at to possibly be the Ying to Steps Yang kind of deal there. So we'll have to see. And then also Savion Morrison is in the mix for carries too. Probably going to be a little bit of a rotation there. Not the best thing for DFS purposes right away. Wide receiver for Nebraska, Samari Torres, who I really like, 2019 kid coming out of Montana. He caught 87 passes for almost 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. So he's really the obvious player to step in for Wan'Dale Robinson, who we know is gone. He's not quite the same player as Wan'Dale, but, he's going to get those targets, those touches and be in the mix. And then Omar Manning. I'm actually really looking at Omar Manning. JUCO transfer from 2 years ago. He should be in the mix. He was only able to play 1 game for Nebraska last year due to injuries. But when he was at JUCO the year before, he had caught 35 passes for 727 yards, 6 touchdowns, 20.8 yards per catch. So he's a bit of a deep threat. And he's going to be in the mix there with Torre. So I definitely am a fan of the Nebraska receivers. There's some cheap guys. There's some value on this slate to enable us to be able to pay for some of those upper tier stars. For Illinois, their coach is a running coach. They're going to run the ball a lot. Brandon Peters is their confirmed starter. I think this is his 6th season now. He had 18 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, over 1,800 yards in the 2019 season. Split some with Isaiah Williams, so stats weren't so great last year. Williams has made the move over to wide receiver now, so it's Peters' team as the QB. Running back wise, Chase Brown, 540 and 3 touchdowns a season ago. He's only 5K. Probably going to get a big workload, but I really feel like it's not necessarily a lock and load simply because they do have ECO transfer Chase Hayden in there. Reggie Love is a guy who they've been talking about. Love had 63 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown in their spring game. Everybody was kind of chattering about him. So this offense, I think the way it's going to run, they're going to be able to support more than one running back, each and every week. So but I do think Chase Brown's going to draw some ownership because he's only 5K and he's the most obvious name. But with them being kind of secretive with their depth chart and with Hayden and Love and even Epstein behind Brown, I don't think it's as simple as just plugging him in and thinking he's going to get 25 carries or something like that. Now, the Illini wide receivers are intriguing. Isaiah Williams, as I mentioned, has converted from the quarterback to wide receiver. Williams actually had upper tier offers coming out of high school, but everybody wanted him to transfer or to switch positions to wide receiver. He wanted to be a QB, followed his coach to Illinois, and he got to be quarterback. Didn't work out all that well. So now he's making that switch to wide receiver, which everybody wanted him to do. And he's going to be able to score points in a myriad of ways. I think, the price isn't super intriguing right now. But if you're running multiple lineups, and I think that's obviously a good idea on a 3-gamer just to get some exposure, I think you want to get some of him at 5K because I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up being probably the best receiver on this team. And they have some other options to talk about, but he's just going to be a dynamic weapon, very fast. Could be one of those low-owned YFC specials that ends up shredding the slate, gets 110 yards and a touchdown. Everybody's got him at 5% or something like that. So he's going to be working out the slot. He's going to get a lot of work, and I'm definitely kind of looking at him. Donnie Navarro is going from slot to the outside, and then they've also brought in Notre Dame transfer Javar Armstrong. You guys may not remember his name at Notre Dame. It combines 807 yards between rushing and receiving and 9 total touchdowns in his 2 years at ND. So somebody to certainly look at there. He's, not predicted to start, but with their depth chart being secretive and there's, everybody's kind of going to get a shot here in the first game, he could end up being, a GPP special as well. But there's plays here. I'm trying to figure out how with the other games that we're going to talk about, I'm going to pick and choose who I like the most out of this game. And right now, I'm probably looking at the Nebraska wide receivers and maybe Amart and maybe like a little Illinois exposure at the wide receiver. But what are you thinking with this game here?
Yeah, this is a tough one because of the over-under. So, which pretty much I think gives a guy like Martinez kind of actually a nice high floor, but I don't think he's going to have the highest of ceilings because this is the lowest of the slate, the 55. Yeah, I like Martinez too. He's the lowest price of the big four guys, and he's projected right up there. With guys like Cordero, and he's even cheaper, and we know he's got that dual threat ability. Illinois is one of the worst rush defenses in Big Ten last year. So Martinez is in play. I'm not saying he's going to be in my top lineup, but if you're making more than one, I can see him being one of your top three. Gabe Irvin, and this one, Gabe Urban is tough. The running back from Nebraska, because everything I was reading earlier in the week, is everybody was real high on Gabe Urban, saying this guy was a 3-star, should have been a 4-star, and and all that. And he's a big time sleeper. True freshman, but he had an awesome camp. But now there's whispers also that Sevion Morrison actually may take the first carry. So we're not going to know obviously till they're out in the field Saturday. So, and I was kind of on Urban too, but that kind of pushes me off him. So if once we find some information out, Sevion Morrison may actually be a play also. But that's more obviously for GBPs. Receivers for Nebraska on me, it's pretty much only probably I would be looking at Samurai Toy because the 4.9 price. On Montana, he was decent at Montana, 1,500 yards last year. He's probably, or he is, the most experienced receiver of this bunch. So I think 4.9 is actually a pretty reasonable price to pay. We just don't, we don't know how much Martinez is going to throw that way. But I do think this is a much better unit than last year with Omar Manning, Martin, and Torrey. So I don't know. Nebraska, if I'm not going to be on Urban, it's going to be tough. Probably only Martinez in one of my top 3 lineups. Now, Illinois, I may be a little bit different from you because I'm really on Chase Brown. We know Brett Bielema. He's coaching Brett Bielema, Wisconsin, Arkansas. Bielema we know he runs. He loves to run, which kind of I think may actually give a little bit of a bump up to Brandon Peters, possibly because how much him and Tony Pierce like to run, the OC. But I really like Brown. This guy's 5'11", 205 pounds. Everything I'm reading out of camp saying that they love him. He's having a good camp. Last year, Illinois beat Nebraska 41-23. They had 200-yard rushers in that game. One of them was Chase Brown. He had 131 yards. And Nebraska allowed 170 yards on the ground last year. So I do like Chase Brown maybe more than most people on Saturday. So maybe my main lineup, I don't know. I got to wait for more information. But right now, I do like the price. It's $5K, so I like Chase Brown. Receivers, I'm seeing some rumors that Brian Hightower may be hurting. So we got to look into that more for Saturday. We got Hightower possibly may be hurt. There's not much information out there. So for some reason he doesn't play, but he's a big play receiver, which we all like. If he's hurt, I kind of like that Jafar Armstrong play. He's a runner receiver type. You mentioned that before out of Notre Dame, but I actually like that, and I do like the Isaiah Williams. We know Isaiah Williams is a great athlete, former quarterback. But these guys are all GPP plays, so pretty much for me, it's gonna be all about the running back. The Nebraska running back right now, and Britt Brown on Illinois. That's it. So this game, Martinez and Brown, pretty much like for main lineup types, GPPs. You maybe run a little bit, if Urban does play. And then that's really it probably. Maybe a little Samurai Tour.
Yeah, it makes sense. With Illinois, like I said, they're going to be able to support, a decent amount of runners, two a game that are going to run for a lot because these Love, Hayden, and maybe even Epstein are going to be in the mix. And they're even gabbing about Norwood. So it'll be interesting to see how that rotation shakes out on Saturday for sure. All right. So next game, Uconn versus Fresno State. And I jokingly was saying right away, hey, I wish we could get the week one price of Jake Haener, which is like 6K or 6.5 or something on the week zero, because he's much more expensive on week zero. Harder opponent playing Oregon next week, so his price is lower because they're expected to get their teeth kicked in. Right now, it's minus 27.5 for Fresno State, over under of 62.5. Starting with Uconn, they're not a total fade or anything. Right now, they didn't play at all last year. They do have two names that you really want to know. Wide receiver Cameron Ross, who's definitely going to be a main team type of play. Got 60 passes for 723 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was targeted a whopping 91 times during his freshman year. Uconn decided to pull the plug on their season last year, so he didn't play. So he's been on ice since, but yeah, he's a stud. And they're going to have to obviously throw the ball a lot. Fresno State gave up a decent amount of points, obviously upper tier competition at times, but I could see Ross, easily shattering his price with the amount of targets he saw. I'm sure that's going to continue. And then Kevin Mensah, who's going to be probably universally ignored just because nobody expects UConn to run, but at 4-2, a guy that had his workload is definitely in play. Maybe in your GPP lineups, maybe you get some touchdowns. He had some catches out of the backfield as well. In his career with UConn, he's rushed for over 2,600 yards, 19 total touchdowns. So, obviously his price at 4-2 is nice. It's going to be, Ross, who I think everyone flocks to at the 4-8 tag. But I think that Mensah would be a mistake to completely ignore him if you're running multiple lineups like a lot of you are, who I know. On the Fresno side of things, there's obviously going to be a lot to like here. Haener is a stud in this situation. He's going to throw a ton, over 2,000 yards last year. So definitely 9.7 is a tough price for him. It's really high. If this was like a normal size slate, even though it's Uconn and he's going to bang on him, I think I would probably fade that price. But we don't have a lot of other options, although I am a big DTR fan, huge DTR, probably the biggest one in the industry. So there are some other plays here if you want to do like a DTR or Martinez, roster instead. But Haener's he's a really safe option there. So I'm not going to talk too much about him. I'll leave that to you if you got some numbers or you want to talk about him. But running back Ronnie Rivers, man, he's just a very safe play each and every week. 7.8 is a very fair price for him. I thought it would be even higher because some weeks he has been last year. But rushed for almost 900 yards last year, 13 touchdowns, just 2 fumbles, just a very strong play through and through. And he'll get involved in other aspects of the game too. As far as like receiving goes and everything. He did have 365 receiving yards, 45 catches, which was actually, second on the team last year. So Rivers is just a very safe option. I'm definitely going to have him. He's going to be chewing up yards against that Uconn squad. So if it came down to a situation where you couldn't take Rivers and Haener, I think for me, it'd be a pretty big no-brainer to just take Rivers because he's going to score a lot of points. You could also look strongly at, going over to receiver for them now. It looks like he's going to be kind of chalky, Jalen Cropper. He had 331 yards on the ground last year, 3 touchdowns, like an 18.4 YPA or something like that. So there's a lot to like about Cropper. They did make his price pretty big, 7.3. I'm not super comfortable with the price, but he again, it's another high floor play. Fresno State was kind of deep at receiver last year. I mean, some games would be Pope, some games it would be Wheatfall. I actually had a lot of success with Wheatfall. I know you and I both did on the later slates. They brought in my guy Ty Jones from UW. We talked about that during the Pac-12 preview. Josh Kelly's in the mix. Josh Kelly's been having a good camp. He's listed starting on their depth chart. So there's a lot of receivers here to the point where I don't think Cropper is as big as lock as people are saying, just because there's so much other, guys who are going to get touches here. But he's obviously a great play through and through. Looking at receiving targets for them last year, let's pull that up. Zane Pope, 64 last year. Rivers had 56. Let's see who else on the team. Wheatfall, 30. Cropper, 24. I'm sorry, that was 2019. Sorry, I was on the wrong thing. Let me pull up the right year. All right, 58 targets for Cropper. Kelly, 43. Kelly's really, and Wheatfall, 34. So I really like Carrick Wheatfall as kind of like the sneakier play of the 3. But I think Cropper, like I said, is going to be pretty pretty chalky through and through. And then I think Ty Jones is going to get some looks too. So looking at it, Cropper, I would play Wheatfall at the discount over Pope, and then probably Josh Kelly and Ty Jones. But Rivers is the guy that I'm going to be playing here, and I'm going to be running it back with the wide receiver out of Uconn here at 4.8. So I'm kind of feeling bad about myself because I'm coming out pretty chalky here. But I think in the Hawaii game is where I'm going to be kind of different from the rest of the field. So I'm going to eat these chalky plays for the first 2 games and then really find myself being different in that Hawaii game because I think Hawaii guys are going to go under the radar. So how much Fresno State are you planning to be exposed to, and what else do you like here?
All right, start with Fresno State first. And while you're talking about receivers, so you do got to remember, though, that Wheatfall was just he wasn't cleared for contact like a week ago. So he was wearing a yellow jersey in practice, and we do have Ty Jones listed as, or he was running with the first team. So I may like Ty Jones a little bit more than Wheatfall, but honestly, I think I may end up staying away from this whole situation with the receivers because I think they're a lot deeper, I think, than people think. I mean, yeah, Cropper's good.
The depth chart has it Wheatfall or Jones, so the dreaded or tag.
And then you got a guy like Wheatfall said who was running around with a yellow jersey last week. So just more to pay attention to. I mean, Cropper's the guy, though, at 7.3, which actually isn't a bad price. I mean, he had 443 yards over the last 3 games with 4 touchdowns. So I got a feeling Wheatfall is going to be like the popular sleeper play. I'm not saying it's the wrong play, but I may actually maybe zig to Ty Jones when anybody's zagging to Wheatfall if you're looking for a second receiver on Fresno State, which I'm not even sure if I want to. Jake Haener, I mean, he's a great play. I mean, this is a fast-paced offense. Do you want it? I mean, a great stack with Cropper. I don't think you have to. Haener's probably, like you said, I think you could play Haener naked. You could probably play with Ronnie Rivers. I love Rivers. You already talked about Rivers. We won a lot of money Rivers last year when he played. I'm a huge Rivers fan. But just remember, I mean, Cropper was so up and down in targets last year. At the beginning of the season, he wasn't seeing much, and Eddie was seeing much. So I don't know, man. I just have some concerns a little bit. I mean, I know they're going to score points, but problem is, where is it all going to go beside Rivers and Haener? Josh Kelly, I mean, he was second team in targets last year. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm honestly, I can't get my mind off these Uconn guys, these Uconn prices. Maybe I'm a Northeast guy, and I've followed Uconn over the years, so I'm going to Uconn. You can't start with Kevin Mensah at 4.2. I mean, this dude's an animal. And yeah, it's Uconn. Randy Edsall is pretty much challenged on this year to take that game to another level. And I mean, he's already taken to a level. Now, Mensah, let me see. 2019 was a record book season. I mean, he eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing for the second straight year. Now, he was actually the first Husky to do so. Some people that are as old as me may remember Jordan Todman back in, I think, 2009. Todman was the last Husky to run back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. So he only needs 1,189 yards to break all-time rushing record, which is held by Donald Brown. So I think Mensah is an awesome play at 4.2. People are going to stay away from him because of the big point spread and so on. But that brings me back to Fresno State, though, as I'm looking at prices. Now, Jordan Mims, who is Ronnie Rivers' backup, is $500 more than Mensah. And I know Mims may be popular, too, because we really didn't mention this, but this blowout, Ronnie Rivers may actually sit some in the second half. And I know Jordan Mims may end up catching some ownership because he has a good backup. He's a great backup to Rivers. So if people are going with Mims, I'll take the $500 discount and run with Mensah. Now remember, a good point was in 2019, Uconn was not a good team. They were getting blown out a lot, but still, Mensah was still piling up yards. He still had over 1,000 yards. So they're in more blowout losses than they were in wins. I have no problem using Kevin Mensah at that price of 4.2. I think he's a stud. So, and then the receiver. And I mean, everybody is talking about Cameron Rossby as receiver. He's 4'8". He definitely the top dog there because they came into the season where it was Cameron Ross. He's a sophomore. He's 5'9", and Matt Drayton. And Drayton blew a knee ligament out. A knee ligament, I guess it was, in preseason, and now it's the whole Cameron Ross show. There's nobody there even close to him. 723 yards in 2019, four TDs. Nobody's even close to him on the stat sheet. So he's the number one receiver. He's going to get garbage time points. They're going to be chucking. We don't even know actually who's going to be throwing a ball. I think it's going to be Krzyzewski is going to start the game, but we're probably going to see both quarterbacks. So I'm definitely into Mensah. I'm definitely into Cameron Ross. I just love those prices. And on the Fresno State side, honestly, I'm really interested in Ronnie Rivers, but I'm afraid of Rivers sitting in a lot of second half, which is going to bring in some Mims. That kind of brings up a point. I was going to bring it up at the beginning of the show because anybody that's new that plays DFS, this is a weird week because we have, what do we got? We have 3 games and we have 2 big possible blowouts with UCLA, minus 18, Fresno State minus 27.5. Usually, I mean, this coming maybe goes into effect more later on the season, but when you usually go over 16 points in a point spread, that's usually a good chance that the starters are not going to be playing deep into the second half. So I always take that in consideration when I'm making my lineups. You pretty much usually look at like an over-under differential of over-under 64, like a point differential of under 7. That's when pretty much I'm making my main lineup because you got to worry about, especially some of these games, these big blowouts, of the starters sitting in the second half and not accumulating points. So just a little bit of a niblet that I kind of use.
Yeah, and as you guys go, and we'll highlight it too, but some teams are more prone to doing that than others. Obviously, last year, like Clemson would do it a lot. So
that's what we'll try to bring that up too, I guess, on the shows too, to tell everybody which teams do that.
It's going
right?
to be definitely, it's going to be team dependent. Like I could see maybe in the fourth quarter potentially River. I mean, potentially losing some. They've got Oregon next week, so they're gonna need to have a lot of confidence going in. They also don't want to get their guys injured, so they could go either way. And, they could be. He'll probably miss some of the fourth, yeah. And if people are going to start pulling off of him because of that, that honestly might make me like him even more. I don't know. I'm just a Rivers guy.
No, you have a point because
get 2 touchdowns in the first half. So I feel pretty confident in him, but because he's that fourth quarter.
DeBoer does have a history of running his guys deep. So, but it's always in the back of my mind, and these big blowouts.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure you got to really worry about Rivers because DeBoer does have the history, but then also DeBoer does like to use multiple running backs. So, and I think you're going to see Jordan Mims come in with some ownership on Saturday.
For sure. All right. Next game, Hawaii versus UCLA. Minus 18 UCLA, 68 over and under. When I saw that minus 18, to me it felt a little high. Maybe I'm off here. UCLA is gonna, they've got what we talked about on the Pac-12 show. We did just earlier this week. They've got 19 starters back, the most in college. So they're going to be good, but I don't know that they're 18-point favorite good against a team like Hawaii, who Hawaii is they historically they have a very high flying offense no matter who's there. That's just kind of their niche. So for me, I'm kind of looking at maybe even betting that Hawaii point line because I'm not sure that UCLA is going to end up blowing them out per se. Although they could, Hawaii. Hawaii's going to score points in this regardless. So that's what the exciting part is, at least. Looking at Hawaii now, and this is where I'm maybe being different. I'm not going to be looking at like Cordero necessarily at 7.5, although I think he's fine. He had over 2,000 yards last year. Passing, he's a bit of a dual threat. He 14 touchdowns and 6 INTs. I'm definitely good with him if people want to use him. I mean, he almost rushed for 500 yards last year, 7 touchdowns, fumbled the ball a lot. But I'm really looking at mainly the runners, and it's only because they're multifaceted weapons. I'm a huge Calvin Turner fan. On Hawaii showdowns last year and late slates in general, but especially the showdowns. God, we made so much good money because Turner rarely got captain. Everybody was on Busey or one of their receivers or the quarter. Like everybody would always target receivers against Hawaii, or they try to play that roulette wheel at the wide receiver. And if you just captain Turner, usually just mauled everyone. So he's going to be, getting balls out of the backfield. He's going to be running a lot. He's listed, as both on their depth chart there. And I feel really, really good about him. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, so he's got running back and wide receiver on the actual depth chart. So they're going to be using him in a multitude of ways. I also kind of like in Day Hunter. He's another guy that I kind of use a lot on the showdowns. Did some damage for me. Looking at it, receiving, we'll talk about that real quick for Turner. 44 targets last year, 546 yards, 6 touchdowns. Day Hunter kind of came on late in the season. He didn't do a lot early, but later on, he had 15 targets, 12 catches, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns, especially in the later games. He was doing some damage. And these are guys you want to get to know, especially if you plan on playing the later slates this year, because Hawaii's on it a lot. Turner ran for 326 yards, 4 touchdowns, YPC of about 5.3, and Hunter 46 carries for 183 and 2 touchdowns. Miles Reed is gone now, kind of a plotter, get him out of there. But Turner and Hunter, I think, are going to be 2 guys that are habitually going under the radar. And Hunter's more of a GDP play, but Turner's for me, he's a main lineup guy. I think he's going to score some points here on UCLA. I think he's going to get a ton of targets, a ton of touches in general, and he's just very safe. And the price of 6'4" is reasonable because we're going to get a guy into our running back spot who's going to get targets. He's going to get, touches, and he's going to have production, usually of like an 8K guy. And I don't know that the ownership's going to come in too heavily on him because people may look at that minus 18 and not realize if they don't dig deep that, he's a running back, he's not going to get the ball. It's really not going to be the case with Turner. He is going to get the ball, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get wildcat carries, for God's sakes. He's going to touch the ball a lot. So I'm a big Turner fan. I was hoping Hunter was going to come in at like 3-2 or 3-3 or something stupid because I would have used him. At 4-4, it's more of a decision because, like you mentioned, your guy Mensah, probably a smarter decision to use him because he's not going to have to share the ball as much. But those 2 guys are in play, definitely. And then the Hawaii wide receiver roulette wheel. It's bad last year. Jared Smart's back. Smart's really the guy to look at typically here. Now that Busey's gone, and he's a good PPR type of option. He had 49 targets, one more than Busey. Snowball's gone now too. 36 receptions, 320 yards, a touchdown. So not as good as the year as we thought he was going to have, but he is a very solid option. The price on him's a little higher at 6'2". Now in my initial lineups, I just started building yesterday because I wanted to go into this fresh. I was finding myself landing around the Nick Mardner section. He is listed as a starter, so that's good. And I kind of feel like Mardner was a guy that last year he had a couple big games, and then he tailed off the rest of the season. But people aren't really talking about him unless they're involved with the Hawaii program or their beats. I've read some good things about him, but looking around, the industry and Twitter and everywhere, there's not a lot of Nick Mardner talk, and I do feel like he's going to be better than advertised. So. He is, and I'm happy to say I'm kind of falling into him as my last guy in, and I'm comfortable with that. He is on the starter. He is on the depth chart as a starter. So he's going to get, he's going to get looks there. It's him, Jared Smart, and then, like I said, Calvin Turner and Caleb Phillips as their tight end. So they're going to be looking to him, definitely. UCLA side, you guys heard me talk about it. DTR is my guy during the Pac-12 preview. If you guys listened to that, hopefully you did. The main thing for him is keeping him upright and healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's fully capable of putting up a really big season, kind of an injury-riddled season, but 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's very big to see that. Cutting down on his mistakes is going to be crucial. He's a big play for me at 8.5. I'm going to definitely be on him against Hawaii because he should be able to carve up that defense in a multitude of ways. At running back, they no longer have Demetric Felton. We talked about that. Britton Brown is the guy coming in. He should definitely be, I think he's going to be getting, let's see, let me pull up their depth chart here. So he's going to get it to start over Zach Charbonnet, it looks like. He's going to be a big time play, only priced at 5.6, which is definitely a big misprice if he gets the Felton role. See, he ran for over 500 yards last year. We talked about it on our preview show as well, 5 touchdowns, averaged almost 15 fantasy points per game. So, that's a big lock and load. He's going to be in my core for sure. He's going to do some damage. And then looking at the wide receivers for UCLA, Kyle Phillips is a little high price for me at 7K. Instead, I want to look to the tight end, Greg Dulcich at 6K. Dulcich is really, he's the guy. Pulling it up here. He's the favorite target of DTR. He was the favorite target of their backup when he would come in. See, he had 41 targets last year, 26 catches, 517 yards, 19.9 average on the catch, and 5 touchdowns. Phillips was targeted 57 yards, you can see for reference there. So Dosage for 1K cheaper. Give me that. He has higher touchdown equity as well in the red zone. He's just a guy that they're going to be looking at a lot. Looking at the rest of the UCLA starters here. So kind of blurry on that. It looks like Cam Brown, Casimir Allen, who was a running back before, is also on the depth chart there behind Cam Brown. And like I said, Dulcich, Mike Martinez. I mean, I guess you could use maybe a little Coda's as a starter next to Kyle Phillips. Looking at it here, Coda's not a very sexy option, but he did have 18 targets there towards the end of the season, 11 receptions, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's going to have a much bigger role this year. I suppose you could consider him at 4.6. Looks like DeLon Hurt, who I kind of was talking about being an option for UCLA, has been suspended. So that's one less mouth to worry about there. And I probably wouldn't be getting down too low to like a Mike Martinez, although it's tempting at 3.3, hoping he can get a catch or two and maybe a touchdown, but he's more of a blocking tight end. So really Dulcich pairing up with DTR is an elite move, and then Britton Brown. They didn't make Charbonnet cheap enough to really speculate on him. I thought if maybe he came in at 4K or something like that, then he would be worth a GPP shot, but he's priced almost as high as Brown. And I don't know that he's going to keep jumping in and being a big factor just yet. So I'm definitely stacking up this last game. Haven't got quite a super big feel for ownership just yet. I'm starting to poke around and get that information gathered as I'm getting ready to release my article later tonight or early morning. But it does sound like a lot of people are going to be on Phillips. So I'm gladly going to go to Dulcich for a little cheaper. And then running back wise, that sounds like a lot of people are going to be on Britton Brown. So I'm eating a lot of chalk, but it's 3-game slate. Even me, Mr. Leverage, is going to have to eat some chalk here. But yeah, this is the game to get a lot of exposure to, because I feel like it's a lot easier to predict. While the Fresno State game is going to have a lot of offense and a lot of excitement, that team just has a lot of variance with their touchdowns. These two teams, UCLA and Hawaii, is going to have less variance with their touchdowns. So I think we'll be able to predict what happens with them at a higher rate. So Hawaii, the moneymaker for us, especially on showdowns. If we got some Hawaii showdowns throughout the season, I would encourage everyone to hit those hard because they're very profitable. What's your plan here with this game? You stacking it up as well? Anyone different? Eating chalk? What are you doing here?
You pretty much gave away all my plays. Everybody so I don't get to talk.
All right.
But I'm not a big Chip Kelly guy, but you sure got to say. So I'll just start UCLA quick. You still got to say UCLA is DFS friendly, and they averaged 455 yards a game last year, 35.4 points a game. So that's fantasy goodness in my books. I don't have to talk about DTR. DTR is a man. To me, he's the number one quarterback on the slate. Totally agree with you on the Greg Dulcich play. Especially when you get that $1,000 discount. One thing you do like about this UCLA and DS is it's a nice funnel there from DTR to 2 receivers, Kyle Phillips and Dulcich. They took 52% of the target share last year. So pretty much getting one of those guys, you're guaranteed some points. So why not take the guy that's $1,000 cheaper and actually led the team in touchdowns last year, 5. So receiving. So I agree with you on there. Brown, there has been questions about people are curious. They want to see what goes on with Brown and Charbonnet. I mean, is there going to be any kind of a timeshare? But remember, Greg Kelly's the type of coach that rides his RB1s. So I think you're right. It's going to be Brown. I mean, there is a little bit of concerns with Brown because you do have Charbonnet to muddle the situation a little bit. You do have a quarterback like DTR that's going to run the ball, so there is some concerns. But that price 5.6, he's one of the main plays of the day. And I think there's going to be plenty to go around in his game. So there's Brown's too explosive. He's probably the top running back at that price at 5.6. And that's UCLA for me. So DTR, Brown, and Dolchik, like you said, UCLA. I mean, Cordero's. I have no problem really with Cordero. I mean, he's not going to be highly owned, and they, people look and they see the average. They only see the average 243 passing yards a game, but that's pretty much related to Cordero having being a dual threat quarterback. So he was scoring 26 fantasy points a game. So you're going to get offensive production when you play Hawaii. So I'd have no problem on him. Some GPPs to be different. Calvin Turner is the man at only 6'4". I do like your Day Hunter call, especially the price. If he was a little bit cheaper,
I might play him.
I'd be definitely all over him. But at 4'4", though, I'm just too in love with the Uconn guys. But he's definitely, and what I'm seeing too, it looks like Hunter is gonna like. I mean, they're gonna motion on that formation. It looks like probably Turner's gonna be in a slot. So Turner, I mean, Hunter's gonna see the ball. I mean, he's gonna score some points. So, and then you got the two receivers. I mean, we know it's Smart. We know it's Nick Mardner. I like Mardner $1,500 cheaper than Smart. I would definitely take Mardner over him if I was gonna. He had that one massive game against New Mexico where he was 6 for 147, one touchdown. So I would play Mardner over Smart. I'm not a huge Smart guy. They do run. I mean, I do know. I mean, Hawaii does run a 4-receiver set often, so we're going to kind of watch the game to see what the other targets are going to be. I'm more on Zion Bowens. It's probably the third receiver. But I meant to mention that on the UCLA side, I like Cam Brown, the guy from Texas A&M. I think he might be the third guy on the UCLA side behind Phillips and Dolchik. So but that's just like multi-entering plays and all that. So Turner's a play on this Hawaii game. I think Turner needs to be in your main lineups. And Hunter, pretty much your call. I'm more than Uconn. I'm more than Uconn running backs on Mensah. So that's pretty much it. So it's actually good. I like the slate. Exciting slate, actually. 3 games. There's actually 3 good games, I think, even though there's some blowouts here. But there's some. I like the DFS purposes a lot.
Yeah, I think you can end up spending up at both, QB and run out. We typically like to do the 2 QB thing with the super flex, so you can actually play Hainer, and feel pretty good about your lineup, honestly. So that's another thing we'll be talking about on a slate by slate basis. There's sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes your super flex, you can run a high powered RB, or last year we had Kyle Pitts out there, as a guy that would score more than a QB. So sometimes it happens, but yeah, this is a slate you'll definitely want to run a second QB at the super flex spot. All right, so we've got to talk about prize picks. We've got to talk about core plays. Which I'll let you lead us there. What do you want to start with? You want to do prize picks first, or do you want to talk about cores?
Let's look at some cores while I have it up.
All right.
God,
go first.
I want to put. I really think I'm gonna have 3 running backs. Right now, I'd really like to have Turner, Brown, and Mensah in my main lineup. But then I like these running backs. I like Ronnie Rivers too. So, but
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so I think you need DTR in your core. If you get with Superflex, I mean, if you can, I think the pricing is soft enough where you can get DTR and Hainer. It definitely is. If you want to run down, like when you got Calvin Turner sitting there at only 6,400, Mensah, Brown are the same price. So there's like no receivers I need to have. So I'm looking at all running backs. So I'm probably DTR, Hainer. Ronnie Rivers probably has to be in your main core. But then I'm like, this is being too simple then. So I'm putting Kevin Mensah in my core. I want Mensah, Brown, and Rivers as my 3 running backs with DTR.
Yeah, I agree. It's a 3 running back week, and as you talk about that, there could GPP wise, I think running 4 running backs could actually be a GPP.
No,
winner,
I think you're right. Yep, I think you're right.
So
There's no receivers you have to have.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you're gonna have to run the three, but for super flex, you could run a fourth running back in that super flex and
True.
potentially just knock it out the park. So for GPPs, you're looking for differentiation, especially in those big, those big, large field GPPs. There's going to be just a ton of overlap. There's not going to be a lot of people with the balls to run for running backs and not take a quarterback at the super flex. And it does work. It does.
I could
So
go. I could go. You go Rivers, Turner, Brown, and Mensah, and I love that lineup in the GVP.
yeah, because I mean, a Hainer at 9.7, there's not even a guarantee he pays 9.7. I mean, he's going to do
No,
well, but nine, that's a really high price for a quarterback like Jake Hainer. It's tough. So you could potentially fade him, watch him get 25, take that fourth RB, have that RP explode for 30 at less price, and yeah, you're off to the races. It's definitely doable. So for core, for me, yeah, I mean QB's DTR is the core. We're in agreement there. I would that's I think he's a must play over Hainer. He's a must play over Martinez for me. I think you're probably playing two of those three in your main. That's fine. At running back, it's really hard. I don't know. There's a lot. I know who I want to play. I think Calvin Turner is probably going to wind up being my second core. I have a history with our YFC subs of giving them at least one person in our three-man core, somebody who's lower owned with a lot of pop, and I think it's going to be him. So Calvin Turner, I usually like to have one QB, one running back, one wide receiver in the core. It's going to be tough to really core a wide receiver because, yeah, we're prioritizing running backs because I would just sit here and then say, like Britton Brown is probably another core. But if I want to give for the show sake for a wide receiver, Greg Dulcich, I think is probably that play. Tight end that just he's DTR's guy. And he's going to be getting a lot of targets. So he's probably the guy I would play. But Cameron Ross is going to be the chalky answer. I mean, he's only 4'8". Everybody's going to have him. So if you want the quick and easy and what everybody, popular blocking and cash and playing that mind game, Cameron Ross is the answer. But if you want a little bit different, then Greg Dulcich, the tight end, he's going to have a big game. So it's a lot of names to throw at you, but I think you guys have a good idea of where our player pool is, and it's really not. It doesn't appear to be that large to me initially here. So
no, it's not.
bigger
Not at
slate
all.
next week is going to be tougher to bring down our player pool. We usually like to have it, nice 15 to 18 at most. But this is a real small one. Seems like 10 players. All right, so I hope you had a chance to bring up prize picks.
No, I
Bringing
didn't.
that up now.
Let me pull it up. I was
All right,
daydreaming.
well, let me
I was
start
looking at
with that.
Martinez's stats, and I really think you're right. Now I'm looking at Martinez. I may actually run Martinez over Hainer as in my superflex.
Yeah, it's definitely in play. All right, so looking at fantasy points first,
Wow, they
you can
got
pull
all
up wherever
kind of
you want, but that's
single stats this year, huh?
yeah, they
Wow.
have a huge amount this year, and they have the two later games, the UTEP New Mexico State and Southern Utah San Jose State. Pete and I do plan to do a live Discord later in the day before that slate locks, so we will break that down for you guys. So we're not going to talk about those on the prize picks just yet. I'm going to talk about these ones here. Now, look at your Uconn boys, Kevin. If you think, Cameron Ross, 12 fantasy points, that seems pretty doable. Kevin Mensah, 12 and a half. I think where we'll be able to tear them up this year, because, yeah, they have galore. I mean, they've even got interceptions here for the QBs. You can predict interceptions this year. That's pretty nuts. I'm looking at receiving yards first. Cameron Ross, 62 and a half seems pretty juicy because he's going to be getting targeted a whole hell of a lot. And then Samari Torre, 42 and a half. That seems pretty low to me because I believe Torre is going to be a massive weapon for Nebraska. So those are two that jump off to me right away
There's two.
at the receiving yards.
That's the two. There's two I agree with too. Dolchik at 16 and a half. That's kind of borderline. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I like the Ross and what was it with Torrey?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Torrey. Definitely Torrey. Yeah, definitely 42. Yeah, both Ross and Torrey, both over 62 and a half and 42 and a half. I just spotted Marcus.
Okay, go ahead.
Marcus on step for Nebraska rushing yards. I take the under 57 and a half.
Yeah, because it's not even a guarantee that he's going to be the RB1, and he's going to be at the very least. There's going to be three guys getting touches in game one, so I like that.
Yep.
Do you think my guy Turner will get enough carries to hit 37 and a half? They're trying to be tricky because they didn't give us a Turner prop for receiving yards, but they gave us a rushing yard prop.
I wish I don't have Turner. Well, I don't have Turner's stats in front of me. What last year? What was he catching? Pretty much. I mean, running on a per game basis too. We use him so much because he was such like a dual threat. He should be able,
Yeah,
he should be able to get over 37.5, right?
yeah, I mean, he was there was a lot of games where he'd be at like 40, 45. He's not the main runner. He averaged right around 37. Let me look real quick. Yeah, right around 36.8. Okay, he averaged, so it's pretty damn close. It's like they're trying to trick us or suck us into that one. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
They didn't give us a receiving prop. Oh, I feel like they're going to get people on that because we like Turner, but he might only just get like 25 yards and touchdown and then a bunch of receiving yards.
What do you think of Chase Brown 70.5? I want to say over because I like Chase Brown a lot Saturday, but
yeah, that seems on rushing, right?
yeah, rushing 70.5 over.
Okay, yeah, that seems doable. Like I said, from what I'm reading, it sounds like the other guys are going to get touches, but their offense is going to support multiple guys running 50 plus yards. So yeah, I think the over because he could hit 100 plus.
Easy.
Hayden
He had
could hit
131.
50. Love could hit
131 last year.
60. Epstein could hit 40. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of guys getting yardage for I mean, even like I said, Norwood, they were talking up. They have 5 running backs on this team that they love. But I do think Chase Brown will be the RB1 there. So it's going to be a decision. The slate's going to be one on the right running backs because there's a ton of juicy running backs in the slate as opposed to other positions.
Epstein had 100 yards last season. Epstein and Brown both had 100 yards in that game.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they're not even really talking about Epstein as like the second guy. Like but he's still lurking. I have a few for the later slate. Well, when we talk about UTEP, Jacob Cowing. Because man, they made his stuff too low. What about interceptions? Adrian Martinez is good for at least one interception, right?
Oh, they have a quarterback intersection. Yeah. Mark, if any of them, I would be taking Adrian Martinez over the half. Yeah, definitely.
He's gonna throw one pick.
Yeah, and just throw 3.
So we'll get our price. Those are just our initial ones we like. We'll get them condensed down in the article. I have 3 or 4 that I'm really high on, and then we'll probably have a video as well. So, right? Sound good, Pete?
Sounds really good. Right. And I one more. Just in receptions. Oh, you're right. They don't have Calvin Turner receptions, but they do have Cameron Ross 4.5. Cameron Ross is going to catch 5 passes. Somebody's got to catch the ball. Wait, they do have Calvin Turner for 3.5 receptions.
Okay, they don't have his receiving yards, is what I think it was. They just have Jared Smart. So, but receptions,
take the Ross over 4.5. Somebody's going to catch the ball, and the quarterback's is going to have more than 5 completions. It's all going to go to Ross because there's not even anybody there even close to Ross. I mean, he's going to be running dog in that day, Saturday.
Yeah, I like his receptions. Yeah, and his receiving yards 62.5. I like the over on both of those. So I'll probably have to pick one, but I definitely like both. And then rushing touchdowns, Ronnie Rivers 0.5. Give me the over on that all day long.
Yeah. No doubt.
Your guy Chase Brown, give me the over. So there's a lot in play here.
Definitely Ronnie Rivers. Definitely, yeah. Over 1.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's probably going to be my. I was gonna say that's probably going to be my number 1 prize pick play. Lock it down. Plug that in now before they raise it.
Yeah, that number may go up. So people playing it probably want to lock that in because that's going to go up. It's gotta.
I think Rivers over on the rushing touchdown, and then Ross over on the receptions or the receiving yards. I like both. You pair him with Rivers in a power play and walk away with some money there. That just seems way too soft. So, cool. I think that's pretty much it. So we've got you a core. We talked about prize picks, broke down that first 3 games. Saturday morning, 2 hours to lock. So it'll be 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. my time. We'll be doing any of the last minute injury news. There's a couple of guys who are hurt. You mentioned Hightower maybe hiding an injury. They may be some, I always check in. You do a great job of it too, but there's always a race to check message boards for all these hidden message boards all over the internet to find out about guys who are out. That was a huge edge for us last year. We found a lot of news that wasn't known around Twitter and stuff. So we'll be searching that stuff for you, hoping that the depth charts for Illinois and Nebraska leak out somewhere before the game, because that'll give us a leg up. Knowing, who's going to start at running back for Nebraska would be huge, and who's going to start just in general for Illinois. We know the quarterback, but it would be nice to see how the receivers line up. Because we have some sneak plays, like we said, with Williams, who may find his way into my lineup. I may end up getting a cute lineup, but that's just how I roll sometimes. But I feel good about this slate, Pete. So we'll be back Saturday. You've got an MLB show tomorrow. Still grinding away on that. I'm still doing the WNBA thing through the end, because we see through the sports that we start. We have CFL again next Wednesday. CFL lock is tomorrow. So get over into premium. If you guys do sign up, it doesn't auto put you in the premium Discord. So make sure that you DM Pete or myself on Twitter, or when you join our Discord in the general room there, put that, hey, I just signed up. Our admins will confirm you and get you into the premium room. We have premium college room and a premium room. Premium college room is where we do most of these news breaking, obviously, for the college stuff, and it gets popping in there. It's a party every Saturday. Freaky. There's people in there. It gets wild. So
I don't think it's a
so be ready for that.
I don't honestly. I could put our Discord premium room up against any site. I don't think there's one more popping. It's because of you in college basketball, college football. So that's the main thing.
It gets crazy.
It's just that is worth the price of $25 for a month. Just that alone.
Yeah. Because the news that's broken, and then it's fun because we're all sweating touchdowns with each other, and and sweating and tilting. The tilting is it's an art. It's an art form. It really is. So appreciate it. Pete did great. Producer Mickey in the house. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys that watch live. If you're watching on demand, just be sure you hit that like button for us. It really, really helps us. Get over to YFC, yourfielderschoice.com. Sign up for that promo. $25 a month for your first 2 months. We'll make that back for you in the first couple of days. I'm pretty confident, whether it be from wagering, prize picks, or DFS, and then you just free rolling the rest of it. Let us help you build that bankroll up.
Before we go, there's a special. Look on your DM. There's a special on college football, no juice plus 100 spreads. Look at your DM quick from G.
All right, cool. So running this next week 0 of college football, no juice plus 100 spreads on all games. Points bet. Okay, so points. We do have a promotion with our Points Bet. They're a site that we're affiliated with. You use our code YFC. They are giving you plus 100 spreads on all college football games without any juice whatsoever. So
code YFC also.
Yeah, use that code YFC to get that. Wagering is going to be something that we push a lot. A lot of states are opening up. Looks like you're trying to get your Florida state there opened up. Pretty soon it's going to be, I'm pretty confident, over 70% of the country will be having sports bet. A lot of the sites are putting time and effort in sports bet. So getting into it. There's soft lines and a lot of stuff. Prize picks, everything. We're going to be making you guys that money. So let's get it. Saturday morning, we'll see you guys bright and early with coffee in hand. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.